That's right, and the astronauts should be getting the okay to doff or remove their suits in about 6 or 7 minutes. I would imagine that, as Sandra mentioned before, we do have 3 space newbies on board today. I would imagine that they would be pretty excited to get out of their seats. They've been in these seats for a while. The crew ingressed hours ago, and if I would imagine that the 3 folks and even the veteran, everybody would be excited to get out and be able to float around a little bit for the first time on this Crew-5 mission.
Yes, absolutely. And you do see the crew working through some procedures there on the touchpads that they do have in front of them. They'll continue to have those available for them throughout their flight uphill. Again, this is going to be about a 29-hour launch to docking for Crew-5.
It seems as though that zero-G indicator may have floated out of view, perhaps up above the crew displays. We can see that the visors are up.
Dragon, SpaceX, environments are looking good for suit doffing. For today, we can leave the camera configured for a little while longer, but at this time, you are go for 4.012 and 4.300. As a reminder, please stow the suits with the visors closed. I'll copy.
Okay, Dragon copies. We are go for 4.012 and 4.300. We're going to keep the cameras configured, and when we stow the suits, we'll do it with the visors closed.
Good readback. At this time, you're also go to tell the world a little bit about that stowaway we saw shortly after second engine cutoff.
So we're standing by for a few words from the crew about that zero-G indicator. And there it is.
SpaceX is launch Dragon back in the ground. We missed the last part of your trip.
And no worries, repeating my last on there. I was going to have you all talk a little bit about your zero-G indicator, but we can hold that off for the next ground station pass here for Dubai. At this time, what I'll do is I'll take the cameras external for suit doffing, and then you let me know when they're allowed to come back on board.
Okay, Dragon copies, so we'll let you know when you come back on with the cameras, and we're excited to talk about our stowaway here.
Okay, Dragon copies and working.
And it does sound like we are in a brief expected loss of signal with the crew. This does happen from time to time when we're in between our satellites, but we will have views and communication back with them here shortly, and we're looking forward to hearing their words on their stowaway and what that special meaning is for the crew. So with Crew-5 now successfully on orbit, let's head over to our counterparts at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Daryl, it was spectacular to watch this launch from here in Hawthorne, but tell me, what was it like to see it on the ground?
It was amazing. First of all, we got an idyllic day right here on the Space Coast. I mean, the temperatures are like, mid-70s. There's a cool breeze. Phenomenal launch. Bob, I want to get your thoughts. You've flown, you've watched. This was pretty perfect.
No, this was just outstanding. It was picturesque, with the blue sky, the blue background, a beautiful day here in Florida. The only thing I wish was that I was there with them, because that is the one place that is better to watch a launch from than right here at the Kennedy Space Center is on board the rocket ship.
I got to believe that. And though we weren't on board, we did get to watch the views as we were going up and saw them land the booster, which, by the way, that booster also going to be SpaceX's and NASA's Crew-6 booster. So more the reuse, NASA taking advantage of that as well.
Absolutely. Every chance that we get to reuse a capsule or reuse a booster kind of drives down costs and increases the opportunity for more folks to fly in space.
Now I'm headed out to take a swim, right? I mean, this is just perfect out here. Bob, thank you for your thoughts. And now we're going to move on. We've got an interview here with Robin Gatens, the director of the International Space Station, who also joins us here. And you got to experience the launch from right here outside the press site. And I want to ask you, how did you enjoy it?
Well, it's always exciting to see launch to the International Space Station. I've seen many, but especially to see a new international crew headed to the International Space Station was very exciting. And of course, you nailed it. Beautiful day. Really glad we got this one off today.
Absolutely, and they'll make that 29-hour transit to the space station. You're the director of the International Space Station, so I want to ask you, I heard there's a book coming out that's, there have been books before about the International Space Station, but a new one's coming out. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's called Our Benefits to Humanity. It is a publication we have put out before, and we actually released it in July, so it's out. It's both in print format as well as online, so people can just search on Benefits for Humanity, International Space Station, and find that book. And it highlights all of the wonderful research that's going on the space station. This crew will be doing over 200 experiments during their time on the International Space Station, ranging from medical kinds of research that will help treat diseases and produce new drugs here on Earth, regenerative medicine. One day we might even print organs for transplant on Earth. We have Earth science going on Space Station, a number of climate instruments to help us understand Earth's climate. Really exciting results. This is truly what we call the decade of results on the International Space Station, where we're building on past lessons and capabilities to just compound the results that we're able to get out of the space station.
And 235 investigations, 76 new ones, and you mentioned the decade. 2 decades, more than 2 decades, the International Space Station has been operating. You mentioned some of the science that they're going to be doing. Now I'm wondering if you have a favorite that you've kind of identified, like, oh, I can't wait to find out the results of that.
Well, I've been tracking a lot of them. I'm really excited about some of the medical things. We're flying again a payload by a company called Lambda Vision, and they're producing retinal implants that could be used to help patients with ocular degeneration. So that's really exciting. I'm excited about what we're learning, with respect to the climate. We got brand new climate instruments up on board. We've got companies learning how to make better products through their research on through the ISS National Lab and their work on the space station. So I'm also excited about plant research going on Space Station. I think that's not only important for future exploration missions, but also to help us grow plants in harsh environments, small spaces here on Earth.
And also NASA, while doing all of that, is continuing to work towards its ultimate goal of getting to the moon, going back to the moon and sustaining our presence there. A lot of technology at the station that works towards that end. We want to actually pause, though, for 1 second, because we understand that one of the astronauts, Josh Cassada, has a statement that he is going to make. It is relatively about his zero-G indicator, which, if you saw in the coverage, it was I don't know if it was a baby Einstein, Bob, but it was a little Einstein.
It definitely looked like a small Einstein, but we'll listen to Josh and hear exactly the details.
Let's listen in. Again, waiting for astronaut Josh Cassada with a special message.
And Dragon, cameras are internal.
SpaceX. Dragon copies. We are internal with the waistbands off and stand by for the cabin mic check.
You see Koichi Wakata is out of his seat.
Yeah, this
SpaceX Dragon from the cabin mic check.
And Koichi, I've got you 5x5. How me?
Mike, we have you loud and clear also.
Great news, and we're also getting some great views inside the capsule here, so if you all want to get a chance to talk about your indicator, we'd all love to hear some.
Absolutely, Mike. So, a couple years after he come up with his groundbreaking theory of special relativity, Albert Einstein, in his mind, still had a couple loose ends to tie up. While he was sitting in the patent office, because he wasn't famous yet, definitely should have been, he had what his happiest thought of his entire life. That thought was, person in free fall doesn't feel their own weight. That thought, along with some others that he built upon, led to general relativity and our understanding of gravitation and curvature of space-time. We're experiencing Einstein's happiest thought continuously, like the International Space Station has been doing for over 20 years. On Crew-5, call this little guy our free fall indicator. We're here to tell you there's plenty of gravity up here. In fact, that's what's keeping us in orbit right now and preventing this trip on a Crew Dragon from being a one-way trip. A little bit like life. We live in the same world, we live in the same universe. Sometimes we experience it in a very different way from our neighbors. We can all keep that in mind. Hopefully we can all continue to do absolutely amazing things, do it together.
Well, that was excellent, Josh. We appreciate you all taking the chance to share with us some of those special words and some of the meaning to you all.
I'll tell you, my crewmates are just happy that we didn't break out a dry erase board and get into more details.
We'll chat lensing later.
Absolutely.
A message from
Okay, at this time,
astronaut Josh Cassada, the pilot of Crew-5, and his fellow astronauts and cosmonaut, floating in space high above the Earth as they head to the International Space Station with a special message about Albert Einstein, who is represented there floating around space as the zero-G indicator, but then also a nod to his theory of relativity. E equals MC squared, I believe, Bob.
Well, there are a lot of great things that Einstein was responsible for, and I would just say that maybe there are 5 folks experiencing his happiest thought on board the Dragon capsule just right now.
Absolutely, and NASA is looking to return humans to the surface of the moon, and this is part of it, going to the International Space Station. We mentioned some of the efforts in going up there, and of course the science that's going to be done by Crew-5. We're looking forward to that as well. Some final thoughts, Bob, about the day today.
Well, it was just a wonderful day, a chance for me to relive the launch experience with the Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule, and I'm just super excited for the Crew-5 and little Einstein on board and in free fall right now.
A very special moment indeed. Before we wrap up, I want to send it over to Megan Cruz, who is with Deputy Administrator and former Space Shuttle astronaut Pam Melroy.
I am Pam, and I have just been chatting about how wonderful of a day this was for a launch.
Oh, it's a gorgeous day here at the historic Kennedy Space Center. for me to see the next generation of launch vehicles launching to the space station was thrilling.
And also the next generation of young explorers. You know, you and I were talking about a young boy here, guys, that bought a space suit, an astronaut suit from downstairs at our store, and was wearing it around and running around. How cute was that to see him so excited?
Well, I found it pretty cute to see the 3 rookies who were on the flight, as well as my very dear personal friend Koichi Wakata, who I flew with in 2000 to the space station. So I'm inspired by both the young and the experienced.
And speak to me about that like you said, you've flown on the space shuttle 3 times. Talk to me about that ascent, how it must feel as they're going up through the atmosphere.
It's absolutely a remarkable experience, and I found myself thinking as I was looking at the schedule for this rocket, how physics drives so much of what we do. So it's very similar in the timing of everything, but the space shuttle was a little bit of a wild ride, I have to say. It had a lot of vibration, particularly the first 2 minutes. But you know, it's a very different experience when you're here on the ground. It always brings tears to my eyes. I pray for the crew. When you're inside the vehicle, you're having a blast.
So I'm glad to hear that they were having a blast. Talk to me about why these commercial crew missions are so important.
Well, they're really important to us for a lot of different reasons. The whole value that NASA brings to the American people, and in fact to humanity, is around science, a strong science and technology posture for the country, and inspiration. And we see that all wrapped up in Commercial Crew, because we see the ability to do more science on orbit because we can carry more crew members. We see the advancements that have been made through NASA investments in commercial crew and commercial cargo that are lifting our entire space industry. And of course, there's nothing better than seeing an astronaut fly to space for inspiration.
Sure. And what's next for NASA? You know, right behind us, we have the vehicle assembly building. Inside is NASA's Artemis 1 rocket. Are you excited for that?
Oh, I'm very excited. I'll tell you, it's a big deal when a new rocket flies for the first time. And we have learned a lot. We have a lot to learn, just like I was a test pilot. So when we flew airplanes, we never actually launched the first try. Usually we just taxied down the runway. So we've taken her out to the runway a couple of times now, and we've learned a lot. And I cannot wait to see the most powerful rocket in the world launch going to the moon.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of great stuff here, and we're so happy to bring viewers on the ride with us, right?
You bet. That's the whole idea. NASA shares and inspires.
Perfect. Pam, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Guys, we're going to send it back to you for the last time today.
Thank you very much, Megan. Great job out there. Appreciate it. And Nicole, Josh, and Koichi and Anna are now on course to arrive at the International Space Station around 4:57 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. And of course, NASA TV will stay on the air for continuous live coverage along Crew-5's entire ride to station. Meanwhile, SpaceX's YouTube channel will join live coverage starting at roughly 2 hours prior to docking. And though our coverage here at Kennedy is coming to a close, we will turn it over to the team in Houston to take us through the next phases of the Crew-5 mission all the way through their arrival at the International Space Station. For those of you watching online on NASA's YouTube, make sure you take a look at the description below. You'll see the video link there, and you'll find that for Crew-5 Coast Phase. Live coverage will continue at that link shortly. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. Pull that up for you. If you're watching on NASA TV, you won't notice a thing, and coverage will continue. So a post-launch news conference is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NASA TV, and you can find mission updates on Twitter at NASA, at SpaceX, and on the web at nasa.gov, including timing on any potential live tours of Dragon Endurance during the trip to station. Now, before we sign off from Kennedy, I want to thank my partner and co-host, Bob Benkin, for being on the launch broadcast, sharing your incredible insight and experiences. Bob, I really enjoyed listening to you today. Thank you so much to you and to Megan, your wife, who helped us with Crew-4. We look forward to hearing more from your family, as well as maybe seeing Theo on a future launch broadcast.
Well, thank you, Daryl. I very much appreciate that. And, of course, thank you to my wife and my son and our dog Shadow for joining us for a short period of time during today's broadcast. And, again, I just want to echo Deputy Administrator Pam Grady words with it's been an exciting year. The Crew-5 folks are just getting started on their excitement for the year, if you will, on their way to the space station right now. But we've got an Artemis 1 rocket over there, the SLS, in the vehicle assembly building. Looking forward to seeing that back out on the pad and getting her launched later this year.
Coming to a launch pad soon, mid-November, we all hope, and we're looking forward to that as well immensely. Huge thanks to all of our guests for joining us today, and thank you to all of you for watching. Here now are the highlights from the journey we took today, and just a reminder from here at the Kennedy Space Center to keep looking up. They're getting suited up inside that historic suit-up room, everything going smoothly. And there they are, the astronauts of Crew-5 taking their first steps outside.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition, engines full power, and liftoff.